Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our podcast. It is Pierce and Mert. It is a Sunday night. It's the last day of September, so happy end of September. And by the time you hear this, it'll be October. So happy October. And
Yeah.
and that's about it. Today we are going to be talking about childhood. Do you want to elaborate
Yeah.
on this theme, Mert?
Yeah. So basically, what we're gonna talk about today is childhood memories back in the day. How you wanted to be, how you wanted to become, what do you want to become a kid? What your dreams were? Have your dreams changed? How much has they changed? Funny stories, like stupid, funny stories, sad stories. Stuff that happens to all of us pretty much. Um, Yeah, I just want to ask you, Pierce, how was your childhood? Would you say you had a fair childhood? Good childhood?
Yeah. I think I've had a relatively good childhood. I didn't. I mean, there wasn't anything that was like bad or like I was very fortunate. So
Yeah.
I'd say pretty good childhood.
Yeah, that's also really important to know. A lot of people aren't privileged enough to, because of the resources they don't have, sometimes, stuff they, shouldn't be worried about, they had to worry about. And we had, you and I we had the privilege to, not worry about financial stuff because, our parents handled pretty much our education or clothing, all the other rudimentary stuff. Dude, I had allowances. A lot of kids don't have allowances. A lot of kids, even as they're growing up, they had to work part-time,
Yeah.
just make means end, help the families out. A lot of friends who had to work their way through their childhood, you know
Yeah.
and I feel lucky. I feel lucky as a person, especially, someone who had a good family, went to a good school, had a great education, met people who were very smart, had really smart people around me as, in terms of my family.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say I'm a very lucky person. My dad always told me that I never, as a kid, I never got what he said, but now I sort of get what he means.
Yeah.
I was,
Yeah. Me too.
yeah, you I would complain sometimes about some superficial thing, and I'd complain it all the time, and my dad would just get angry at me. He's say you have no idea how lucky you are. You
Mm.
should be so grateful for what you have, and yet you're complaining about this and this and this. And I would be, you don't understand. And it's yeah, and I had my own points, but now I sort of get what he means, we're looking back.
Yeah.
Did you was there a moment where as a kid you had a really superficial thing that because every kid has that thing something that you right now as adult look
Mm-hmm.
that is
Oh, yeah.
so small and rudimentary, but back then you were a kid that was so big and important to you, like and it yeah, did you had that kind of thing, any yeah.
So like there were a couple things that would happen. Like it was always sometimes like I would always want to like see a movie that was like rated R, and my parents would be like, no, you can't. You have to be older to watch it and understand it and everything. I'd be like, God, you guys fucking suck. Like, who do you think you are? And
Yeah.
then um, I um, I used to take piano lessons as a little kid, and I hated it.
Oh.
Primarily because the teacher was an old lady and she was very controlling and not fun at
Oh, you
all.
had that too. I had that too.
You
I
had
had I had my first piano teacher, and I
Uh-huh.
had many piano teachers before that. My first piano teacher, it was at a conservatory, or a type of school,
Uh-huh.
and so they were very serious with even though I was what 8 or 9, I'm playing the piano. Jeez, fucking the teacher, she was really intense. whenever I made a mistake, she get pissed.
Exactly.
She was like, like, and even if I was playing it the right way, like even though I was hitting the notes, she would say, "Your fingers are not in the right way. You have to do it this way."
Exactly.
Like,
The fingering, they'd always lose
Yeah.
their shit about that.
yeah, like I was like, but I played the note. I played the note. Why are you angry at me? I was like, oh, jeez, whatever. But yeah.
Like I would always complain to my parents, like, God, I hate this old lady teacher. She hates me. I don't know why we're doing this. And I would just like complain. Like it'd be a fight every time we'd go to like before to practice. But now like looking back on it, I was like, I really shouldn't have complained. Like they were doing something good for me.
Yeah,
It's just funny to look back on it.
Yeah, they were doing something for you. I mean, it's sort of like, it's sort of interesting because like one day you and I were gonna be parents, and like we know like this stuff, how it works in some ways, and like maybe like I'm probably gonna like want them to figure out, like I think what my parents tried to do is as we're kids is like try to find out what's our potential, basically. Like, do we have a potential for music? Do we have a potential for reading? Do we have a potential for art? Like I think, or like dancing. I think that's what they sort of like try to like. That's the reason why they sort of pushed us doing the things that we thought were like, well, why am I doing piano? I don't like piano. I don't like tennis. I don't like I think that the case was that like they wanted us to try new things that they saw fit. And of course there's also this like, at some times I did feel like I felt like I was a product that was being made in some sense. And like maybe that's maybe not wrong, but like sometimes I did feel like that. Like I was like, to become an individual for society that is equipped with all like these, like who's like great in music, great at reading, great at academics, great at this, great in social skills, great at this, and like your parents sort of foster you to like, at least my parents tried to like sort of foster me into becoming this, perfect individual for society, the individual that like that people can look up to. And I think that maybe the intention may be good, but sometimes it doesn't take away the feeling that like, why am I doing this? There's that as a kid, like you're like, as you're growing up, especially when you're a teenager, you have that existential question, like, why am I doing the piano? Am I doing it because I like it, or am I doing it because my parents want me to do it? Or like, why am I choosing this major? Why am I doing psychology, or why am I doing engineering? Why am I doing law or business? Like, I mean, I think what we as a child, as we were kids, we thought about different things to do when we were like little, and sort of like maybe there is this little tiny expectation from either society, from our families, to sort of like fit to what they want, and sort of like later on we sort of like fool ourselves that we want this major, we want to pursue this goal, this career path. But maybe we just do it because people want us to do it, or maybe our family want us to do it, and we want to make them proud, or like maybe we want to pay back like a debt in some ways. Like we you've raised me to be a great individual, and so in return I will pay you back by becoming this proud this respectable, successful, like in successful, and success may differ from person to person. I'm like thinking of like the most rudimentary, like capitalist level type of success. And maybe we choose that because of that. Maybe not because we're passionate about. I mean, it has to like go back. Like, what did you want to be a kid when you were like before
everything?
Yeah, before everything. What did you want to be? Like, what was this every kid has that little like, I wanted to be an astronaut, or I don't want to be what was your sort of childhood dream job description. You're 8 years old and you're starting to build up a resume. It's I'm gonna be an astronaut. I was like, and then you go to the Wasserman Center for advice. How can I be an astronaut? Can you please help me out? But yeah, how about you? What was your
So the first time I'm sure as a little kid, like when I was like 3, 4, 5, whatever, I would always think about like, oh yeah, I'll do this, like an astronaut, sure. But the first time that I like remember, or like the furthest back that I remember thinking about like, yeah, this is what I want to do with my life, was this assignment in first grade. So I was like 6 years old, and the teacher was like, all right, so we're gonna take out a piece of paper and we're gonna write what we want to be when we're older. We're gonna draw ourselves as this job that we're picking, and we're gonna explain why. And everybody was doing like, oh, astronaut, ballerina, filmmaker, things that are like pretty cool. And I was like, I want to be a mailman because they deliver mail to people, and that's nice. So I wanted to be a mailman when I was 6 years old. But it was very short-lived because when I told my parents, they're like, yeah, you might want to aim a little bit higher just because you might get bored with it. So then after that, I moved on to wanting to be a director. And that stuck for a while. I wanted to be a director for several years. And I would like try to make movies with like friends, but they were all just like trash, like incoherent. Nothing was good. We didn't even like storyboard or everything. We just took a camera and started recording. And
a lot of directors don't go with storyboards. Most of the time they don't have a plan. It's pretty good. I mean, especially documentary people.
But these were like not good at all.
I'd like to see those videos. Maybe I'd find some redeeming quality in it. I think like if you're in that mindset where you just want to create something and you're not focused on like the technical aspects of it, I'll give you an example. Like what was the guy who made Citizen Kane? I always forget his name. Orson Welles. Yeah, exactly. So Orson Welles, the guy, he basically said, I had no like his directorial debut was that movie, and he said like in his own, like, as he was like talking about the movie, he's like, I didn't know he sort of made this jokey but also sort of serious, kind of like he did not know what he was doing, and so that sort of like helped him do and find different creative ways of storytelling, cinematography, editing, like sometimes like, just as I forgot the artist's name, but he like said, I like the greatest challenge is to paint or write like you were a child, like to go back into that mindset of a child. And I think that's so important, especially if you're in the domain of art. You have to, not just in art as well, like especially in entrepreneurial stuff, in creative work, like in computer, like a lot of people like think like computer, like programming or science, like does not have any like creative aspects. So it's like mostly technical, but a lot of times you have to be really creative with your coding and your other kind of stuff. But let me just focus on the art stuff. Like if you're gonna create something new, you sort of have to botch down all the traditional stuff and sort of go back to that child self to like create something great. And that's what like what's so good. Like, I've watched this movie called Genius, Picasso, and he's this and he says this is a really funny scene. So he has his daughter. And you know how Picasso is like, he's a rebel. He's very, rebellious with art. Like, he wants to like, be very provocative and challenge all the notions of how art should be. And there's this scene with his daughter, and his daughter is just like going all crazy with the painting. She's like just like splashing paint. Oh yeah. She's like splashing paint all over the paintings, using all sorts of colors. Like, she doesn't know anything about the rules, but she's like doing all these crazy stuff. And Picasso's like, she's a genius, she's a genius, she's a genius. And like, that's what I think is like, that's so like, that resonates with me, because as we grow up, we sort of get stuck into this, more this more narrow perspective on how things should work. And that's sometimes beneficial, because if you know how things can work, you can find ways to apply it and not be in a chaotic state. But also sometimes, if you want to be broader and be more creative and do other things, do new things, find new ways, find new approaches to things, you sort of have to go back to that child mindset, just like as Picasso said to his daughter, "You're a genius, you're better than me," or something, like, you know how I'm feeling. So you say you want to be a mailman. I have a question. What was the point of a mailman? Like, you meet new people all the time? Was that the case?
I think it was just it was either that I didn't have anything else, like I didn't think of anything else. I think mailman was like the first thing to pop in my head, and was like, you know what, I'll use mailman. That's the first thing I thought of. Or I genuinely just wanted to be a mailman. I just like thought that their work was cool. I don't really remember, but yeah.
I wanted to be I think Spider-Man. That was the first one. I said I wanted to be Spider-Man. I said I wanted to be Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. Yeah.
I thought you meant Dexter from the serial.
No, I am not. No, sir. Not the TV series. I'm not a serial killer. No, we're not into that stuff. We're not into blood, that kind of stuff.
It's okay if you are. I mean, everybody is.
Yeah.
At least crazy people, but
yeah, I'm just saying, just like for the record, I'm not an axe killer or like, that guy's whatever. It's getting dark. Anyways, no, I wanted to be Spider-Man because my first movie was Spider-Man. I was like so like amazed by watching that movie. That movie taught me a lot about I'd say life, especially the main message of that story. With great power comes with great responsibility, and I would reiterate that line all the time. I would always, my mom, she would later always say, like, you had this big sense of, big sense of being principled and on morality and what's right or wrong, and I would be in this state where, like, I would always say, great power comes great responsibility. Let's think a little Mert just like running around like, I'm Spider-Man, and I would actually like, while I was watching the movie Spider-Man, I seen what happened. Let's say Spider-Man's jumping from one place to another. So let's say in the movie he jumps from one place. I would pause the movie, reenact it in the living room, and then press play. And then the scene would continue on, and I would pause it again, and I would reenact it in the living room again. And my mom would get so like insane. She would like get pissed off, like, Mert, just watch the movie. Would it be my mom or my dad? I forgot. But like either one of them was really not good into it. But going along a little bit more further, I wanted to be a scientist as well. First, I wanted to be a scientist. I do remember wanting to become a scientist because I was so interested in experiments, and like I think watching Dexter's Laboratory sort of affected that thing. It was like when I watched Dexter, like, doing all those experiments, having this big laboratory, and with all these like tubes and like let's say like that sort of stuff look cool to me. So like that science aspect in me sort of like stuck with me, I would say. Because I'm very analytical, and I'm like sometimes very analytical when it comes to things, and very try to rationalize things. But like later on, that sort of went on to being a lawyer, then engineer. Then I said no engineering. I don't like math. I don't want to do it for my whole life. I thought like engineering was something that I could do but not want. Like I would be good at it if I put my mind to it, but I would get so bored. Same with being a lawyer. Same with being I really want to be a politician because I like talking. I like making speeches and stuff. Like especially after in high school when I, joined the debate team and did, MUN and all those other stuff. I I thought I could like like go into law, do politics and stuff. But then I don't know, somewhere along the lines, it's just like in 10th grade or like in ninth grade, I just knew like whatever. Like I looked back at my childhood and like I looked at what was in me that resonated the most, something that I could do for the rest of my life. And I looked at the first moment that sort of like clicked in me, and I knew I couldn't be Spider-Man. I know I couldn't do that, but I knew that film always affected me since I was a kid. It always affected me from the very first moment. I think a lot of people, I mean, this is just me. A lot of people, if they're stuck on what they want to do in life, let's say, on what they want to do for the rest of their lives in terms of like occupation, maybe they could just look back at the deepest corners of their childhood and find what resonated them then, what resonated later, and how it still resonates now. And for me, that's how it worked.
That's good.
Yeah, I'd say so. What's your saddest childhood story?
Saddest childhood story?
Yeah, it was like a bad moment in your childhood that you're just like, I'm not gonna like, you don't need to go into like, traumatic events, but like,
So how about most embarrassing childhood story?
Sure. What's your most
More playful. So, because I also can't think of a sad, like, I know I have sad childhood stories, but like, I don't know which one to pick. But I guess so. Most embarrassing. I have a couple. One of them was related to the whole piano thing, and then which was when I was maybe like 9 or 10, and then the second was in middle school when I was 12. So that's not really childhood, but if we have time, I'll say that one too. But the first one was so I had a piano recital coming up for the old teacher lady that I didn't like and that didn't like me. And it wasn't like a big recital. It was only like the people that she taught and their families. It was still like 50 people though. And we had to perform the songs that we were learning at the time. And I was learning 2 like classical songs that I can't remember who made them or what the name was. And I was, because I was in that mindset of like, oh, fuck piano, I don't want to do this, I would like not practice. So like a week before the recital, I was like just trying to cram everything in. So I was like practicing every night and like trying to memorize everything for the recital. So the day of the recital, I go up and first song, because I had to perform 2 songs. The first one I did pretty fine, maybe messed up like, here and there, but it was relatively good. Second song, which was the harder song, I get through like the first 2 lines and then I completely space. I'm like, what's next?
That happened. The exact same thing happened to me too. Like I even wrote it here in my journal. It's right here. Like it's like, I played my first song perfectly. However, in the end of my second song, I sucked so bad I gave up. But the crowd wanted me to go on. I did. Yeah, the crowd wanted me to go on. Like
Really?
me. Yeah, they said like go on. They knew I was like very embarrassed. Like I was like screwing it up, and they were like go on. And then well, what happened was after I couldn't do the second song, I left the stage, and then people were like, no, go back, and they're like clapping me, and then I was like, I had a choice. I could either go back, sit on my seat, say sorry, or I could just still, go back and do. And I'm glad as a kid, like, good job for you, little Mert. Good job. You had the courage to still go back and. Yeah. Screw it up again. And I did screw it up again, and I cried and I was so sad. I felt like a failure. But I think
well, it sounds like you had a better crowd than I did. Literally when I went up and I like forgot my piece, I just kind of sat there for like a good 15 seconds, just not doing anything. And then I looked at the crowd, like to give them a look like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing up here still. Like, I forgot everything. Yeah. And I looked back and I just went back and forth between the piano and the crowd a couple times. And then they were just staring at me silently. Like, nobody was like, oh, you can do this. It was just dead, like, awkward silence. And I was like, all right, that's it. So then I don't know. I played like the last chord and then just walked off the stage.
Yeah, I think my crowd was a little bit better. After that though, here's a funny line. So what was it? Yeah, parents saw me and I think they like told me that it was a good experience for me to fail. Like it's important to try and fail, but like still it's important for you to try and continue. And then I think on my last part of my journal I said, when we left home, I wanted Chinese to eat. Chinese food always comforts me after bad days. Yeah, Chinese food was a big thing for me. It's always a big thing for me. I love, Chinese food. It's like back in Fremont when I was living in the Bay Area, we just go to this Chinese or Japanese place, Asian place, and I would always order chicken teriyaki with rice. Always chicken teriyaki, nothing else. I didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit about anything else. I just wanted my chicken teriyaki. Sometimes I would try the other stuff, but always chicken teriyaki, and it always made me happy. Good. And my mom and dad knew how that worked. How would you say your relationship with your dad? My embarrassing story. Wait, I haven't done my embarrassing story. My embarrassing story would be, piano recitals is one thing. Embarrassing story, it would be. Gosh, there's like so many I have to pick out of one of them. Embarrassing story. I thought a condom was a perfume. I was 11. I thought it was a perfume. I looked like, because the package just looks so similar. Because like, they have how they brand perfumes, like them looking, really like in boxes, big boxes, like wrapped up sort of in that way. And I just, thought that like, and like in the commercials, when I would see the, OK commercial, direct commercial, whatever, they would like how like these, the bodies and like the sexy bodies of the, the man and the woman. And the perfume commercial would come up later on. And then it's the same thing. Like the lady and the man guy, they're having their sexy bodies. There's a spray and like, like, the commercials were really similar and the packages looked similar. And so I assumed by like, I associated the two as being one, the same thing. And I didn't know what the concept of a condom was. So that to me was like way off. And so we were at a supermarket with my Yavuz abi, like my Uncle Yavuz. Yeah, Uncle Yavuz. And we were at the supermarket and he's like, we have our stuff and shit. We were there, I think, to get my suit for the recital. And then we were getting stuff from the supermarket. And then I just tell him, and I see the condom, but to me it's not a condom. And I tell Yobus, and I tell him, hey, go buy that. If you buy that, girls are gonna love you. And I said that, and then Yobus was like, shh. Shut up! What are you saying? I was like, "What? Girls are gonna like you if you buy it. They're gonna jump on you." That's what I said. I said girls are gonna jump on you if you buy this thing. And then it was like, "Dude, that's not. What are you saying?" I was like, "That's a condom." And I was like, "What's a condom? A condom? What? That's a condom? What? What's condom?" And then later on, like, okay. So that, okay. I don't know. For me, that was, and like the lady, the cashier lady looked at me like just. Oh jeez, and she just like laughed at what I was saying. Like first, I think she was like baffled, like what is this kid saying? And then later on, when she realized, okay, this kid has no idea what the fuck he's talking about, exactly. She just like laughed her ass off. But yeah, how's your relationship with your dad and mom? Like, if not now, but like back in the day, how was it? Was it good?
Back then. Last question, then we wrap it up.
No, we're good.
Okay. I think it was pretty good. I mean, I was more so of like a quiet kid when I was younger, and like I would never talk to my parents about like anything, um, and they would always get frustrated about that with me. Like my sister was like very talkative and very social, and she'd always like talk with my parents. But like me, I was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'll just read a book or something. Um, so I was never like close with my parents. Um, but I was always well, at first they got mad at me very easily because I used to be a big liar. But once
Ooh.
they like showed me like no, 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 lying is bad, you can't do that, then I was like, okay, I'll be good. And then they were like, okay, he's good now. But before, when I was like 3 or 4 years old, mostly, I would lie all the time about everything. And
Ooh.
I was a little kid, and little kids suck at lying, so they'd know like right away. And they would like take my stuff away. They're like, "All right, Pierce, if you're lying, we're gonna take away your notebook," or like something like that. And they'd ask me like, "Did you eat this?" And I'd be like, "No, no, not me." And they're like, "Okay, Pierce, you just lost your book. Like,
Yeah.
sucks to be you."
Yeah.
Um,
It's so interesting. It's so interesting that like just those little tiny threats that would not affect us today they'd have really affected us back then. Like, if you don't do this, we're gonna take your Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and that will be the end of the world. That will be like, my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. No.
yeah, seriously. When they took like
Ah.
my shit away, I would be sobbing.
Yeah, but for me, it was like I think there was this one time where I was I think I was a very stubborn kid. God help my mom. I was a very stubborn kid. Like the one time when she didn't buy a GTA like video game thing, I went a tantrum in the Target store. By the way, I would never call the Target store Target store. I would call it the Circle store
Really?
because it didn't have Target on it, so I would just call Dad. Let's go to the Circle store. And like up until now, it's always been like with even like when I was 15, when we would go back to Fremont, I was like, Mert, do you want to go to a Circle store? I was like, you mean Target? Yeah, the Circle store. But yeah, anyways, I digress. No, I was really stubborn. One time I was like, I got so stubborn, and I was pissed off that I lost the Yu-Gi-Oh game with family friend's kid, and then I just went on. I was pissed, and when my mom said like, I'm going to take away your Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I'm going to put them away, I was so sad, but I did not give up my tantrum. I was like, I don't care. I it's I it's not fair. You can take. I was like, I just like take it. I'm still gonna be behind the door, locking myself inside the room. That was yeah. God bless my mom. So my dad. So, devil. Yeah, I was very stubborn. I was very stubborn at times. When I get pissed, I would be pissed. But apart from that, I was pretty chill. There was a time I was very. First, I was very extroverted, very, very extroverted, very social, very outgoing. And then there was this like little period between elementary school, during elementary school, where I was like very timid, quiet, not talking very much. And then later on, like as in middle school, it's sort of like at the end of middle school, I sort of like, blossomed up, like went back being more social. But yeah, it was interesting. Maybe it's because like in elementary school, I was like sort of like the weird kid, you know, the the gavur. That's what the infidel is that what? No, not gavur. The gavur is like yeah. I haven't. Yeah, that's funny. No, I was like the weird kid from the United States who didn't accept he was Turkish. Yeah, so like I was like people were like, what are you, American, Turkish? I was like, I'm American, because that's all I know. Up until 8, and then later on you learn your history, your Turkish history, whatever, and then you grow up, and then you sort of. It's funny, like back in the day, if you didn't act it in a way, especially in elementary school, you would be like, what was it? like between the boys, like especially with the little kids. Like how was your thing? How was your like interaction with the in elementary school with the or middle school with with the guy environment and the girl environment? How was your thing?
In elementary school, it was very like, it was like that mindset of like, boys are better than girls, and the girls would be like, no, girls are better than boys, like competitive. But we would like get along with each other still. And then middle school was like all the boys started getting like talking about the girls, and yeah, so it was, and then it got like more secluded and like separated.
Yeah.
But then like at the end of middle school, everybody started like to get back together.
Yeah. It was weird for us. Like it was, yeah, it was sort of similar to that. Like guys are better than girls, girls are better than guys. In terms of the guys and the guy dynamic, you had to be this very, I don't know if you with you, but like for us, you had to be very, macho-y, like very, masculine type. You had to be really good at sports. You had to be really good at football, soccer, whatever you guys at flow, basketball, whatever. You had to be really good at that kind of stuff. To sort of like, have a good respect. In my case, because I was big and tall, it sort of worked with me in basketball, but I wasn't fast, so like I would win some, I would lose some. We had this weird game called Allah. Which is basically one guy is a bunch of, just think of it like a bunch of little kids who are like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever, gathering up and just pushing each other, pushing especially one kid, which was me a lot of times, to the corner and yell Allah and just push each other and smash each other like as if it was like an American football game. Oh, wow. Yeah, that would be the game. That was the game, and I hated that game. I despised that game. I was like, because I was like, okay, Mert, go into the corner. I was like, I don't want to be in the corner. And then people would just like push me over. I was like, oh, fuck. Yeah. I never liked that game.
Doesn't sound fun.
I just like wanted to like complain to the teachers, like, please ban this game. I hate it. Oh. And like, but like you couldn't also be a snitch, Yeah, you couldn't be a snitch. But yeah, with me, like, I wanted to always do, sometimes maybe hang out with the girls because like they were a little bit more, less aggressive than the guys. But then again, if you hanged out with the girls as a guy, some questions might have could risen. So, like.
So what would you rate your childhood experience out of 10?
Out of 10.
And then do you want to wrap
up? Yep. Just ask that question again.
So what would you rate your childhood experience out of 10?
I'd say it would be like
Yeah, me too.
I'm going between, I'd say it's like 6.5, 7. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah, maybe 6. Yeah.
I'd say like 6.5, 7 too. Leaning towards 7. Like it had its ups and downs. But
yeah. I don't think we talked about the downs that much today. So people are gonna be like, "Wait, these guys said really nice things, really cool things about each other. Why are they giving a 6?" I was like, "Well, we didn't talk about the bad stuff." But I say you can't call it bad or good. What your childhood is, because who you are right now has a lot to do with what happened to you as a kid, for better or for worse. And you got to keep that in mind. And you should, it is you. And how you go along in the future depends on how you see yourself in the past, and how you can deal with it, and how you can apply it now so it can be better for the future. So I don't think saying good or bad, because one way or another, it makes you look at things in a specific way, your childhood, your background. And that's important. You as an individual. How you deal with that depends on you. But, Yeah. Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah. So, next week, guys, hopefully you guys tune in next week because we have a very interesting topic next week with a friend who hopefully will come on the show, on the podcast, and we will talk about feminism and how it relates to today and the future. So, thank you guys for listening. Peace out.
Later.